Hi everybody, this is Nick with Britain Marketing and Design Group. Welcome to the Observatory. Um, those of you here and all of those of you that are online on YouTube or Periscope or Facebook Live or wherever we're sending this out. My name is Nick. I am a content strategist here at Britain Marketing and Design Group. We are a creative design agency. We specialize in brand-centered content creation, lifestyle marketing, color trended goods, consumer goods, fashion, retail, etc. Usually I'm not up here by myself, and I'm not either today because we have Meg here. She's our VP of Online Brand Buzz, and she is wearing her Halloween costume, which is the Invisible Woman. So she will chime in as much as she can. Before we get started, I wanted to introduce you to another person that's new to us here, which is Brian Landrigan. He's our new digital product manager. So come up here, Brian. I'm just kidding. Stay over there. Just stay. Thank you, though. But Brian's here, so anyway. So what are we going to talk about today? We are going to talk about creating evergreen content. This is the 10th session of the content exploration sessions that's been running all through 2016. Today will probably be a little bit of a light session. We might get out of here in 15-20 minutes today, so efficiency and expediency is the word today. We always hope that these sessions are informative sessions that give you a couple of tips or tools or some inspiration perhaps for working on your own content marketing strategy and so forth. We are in the Observatory, which is our content creation studio. It's our real-time listening and monitoring hub. It's our creative collaborative space here where we do all of our real-time trending monitoring, our social media listening, and collaboration, and more. So we also have our little content lab here where we test and create a lot of visual content and so forth. So before we get started, a couple of notes about notes. If you like, because we love taking notes and we love creating and repurposing content, we have created a sketchpad or notepad for this specific session that you can download. This sketchpad features our November desktop calendar design feature, which is the month of November, which I think featured the color brown and also repurposing as a theme, and it was created by our digital designer Danielle Hartman, which is awesome. So go to our blog and download that. It has all of November's calendar dates on it, other session dates, social channels, resources, and more. So go ahead, get onto our research page and download that and doodle away if you feel like it. If you want to interact and engage with us in real time, obviously, we're live streaming. So if you have any questions, tag #RateBritain or send us a tweet at BritainMDG or comment on our Facebook live stream or whatever suits your kind of preferences for social channel usage. So let's talk about creating evergreen content. We kind of grabbed this quote from Walt Disney because I think it's a good reflection of kind of our mindset. Laughter is timeless, imagination has no age, and dreams are forever. For us here at Britain, people often ask us, how do you create so much content? How do you plan for it? What's your process? What's your creative process? What's your magic secret sauce? And we truly think we have a little bit of secret sauce, but at the essence of what we do, it's really is rooted in purpose and meaning. And we really take it all the way back to stories, because when it comes down to it, storytelling is at the center of what we do. And without stories that evoke any kind of emotions, you only have words. So it's our job as marketers to tell those stories on behalf of our clients and brands. It's our job to evoke an emotional response for our brand's fans. So it's kind of our job to create those meaningful and purposeful content interactions with our clients and their strategies. So, And when we bake that meaningfulness and purpose into the content creation and planning and strategic thinking process, what emerge is stories and storytelling. So, and for us, stories never really die. They might fade away a little bit. They might have pieces that change. But the essence of the story, that feeling that that person, um, what that feeling evoked inside that person when he saw that piece of content or heard that story, that still resides with the user no matter what. Might be a little bit of a romantic approach, but we feel there's a substantial truth in that, and that's kind of the essence and what's tied to our approach as it relates to content creation in general. So today's light session, we're going to talk about what evergreen content is for us, kind of our philosophy, talk a little bit about a case study, and we'll talk briefly about how we structure content for success, and then we'll talk about maybe some tools, some platforms that we use, and how that all plays into our strategy and our workflow and our process. Quick plug that we do is we have developed something we call content cartography, which is our content strategy formula or approach. It allows us to optimize and be efficient around the content aggregation, the editorial process, content creation, and content curation. And it really lets us to plan for and create engaging, purposeful content that is, channel agnostic, catering to all those native channel features and user experiences while also being super hyper searchable. So, and we always say, and this is part of kind of our internal mantra here, we absolutely believe that there's a small science to content creation and content marketing. We believe that the function drives the people to the content, and that the form makes them come back, is that engaging part. And we feel that they're interrelated and must be prioritized and combined in order to maximize the reach. And that's what content cartography is all about. It's about playing by the rules of the search engines and algorithms, and creating really good stories. So when those two come together, you can create some really meaningful and purposeful content for your brands. So. All right, let's get into it a little bit. So evergreen content, I've always thought evergreen is a weird word for describing anything that has to do with anything that's probably not outside or part of the flora and fauna or whatnot. So we kind of like to refer to it more as sticky content, or content that sticks, content that's more timeless, content that has some longevity, content that doesn't have an expiration date. So that's kind of how we look at it. I mean, there's tons of different definitions and so forth about what evergreen content is. But in essence, what it boils down to is that this type of content isn't reduced in efficiency or accuracy or from a factual standpoint as time passes. It's the hope with focusing on evergreen content is that the built-up authority will increase over time, gradually and organically, when you create content that is evergreen. Because that content isn't rooted in a particular pop culture moment, in a specific event, in a specific instance, or tied to something that has, an expiration date on it. So it doesn't have a case of hashtag FOMO or anything like that. It's usually a content type that is more substantive and might be a little bit more research based, and sometimes more niche. It just depends on what your content type and content direction is. So wanted to talk a little bit about a case study about evergreen content from our perspective, and it's going to kind of take us back a couple of years when Britain started on their content marketing journey, which is now about 2.5 years ago or so, when we really started focusing on storytelling online and creating content for multi-channels. So it's been a couple of years. we've now published in excess of over 475 blog posts. And with those blog posts, we've built up a tremendous amount of authority from a search perspective. So, but content marketing is more of a long-term approach, and you might not see your return on a content marketing approach until 6 months into it, 9 months into it. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk a little bit more about here, because our publishing frequency and our cadence has been adjusted, it's been refined, it's been optimized, and it's changed tremendously from 2.5 years ago to today. We started publishing 5 times a week. And then we went down to 4 times a week, and then 3 times a week, and 2 times a week. And that's kind of where we're at right now. And it's been really interesting to see what content resonates with our social audiences and our the audiences that finds us from an organic SEO perspective. So, but what we've been able to do through this process is to make our processes more efficient. So even though we've scaled down our content creation process and our content creation universe, we've scaled that down tremendously from 5 posts a week to 2 posts a week. We are still seeing significant increase in stability in the amount of page views we have, because now we've built up such authority from a search perspective that we keep getting this recurring traffic. Which is really fascinating to see. So when we started, we were getting something like maybe 500 page views a month for our website at the time, and through this process, 2.5 years, we've gradually increased our page views to where we consistently get above 10,000 page views a week, a month, and that fluctuates, but that's our threshold. We've also done this with a very minimal paid media budget, so we've stayed true to just creating a lot of organic content, original content, and build up that authority that way. So we've seen the progression, and we think that's super fascinating to then look back at to see what's been working and what hasn't been working. And even though we have created a substantial amount of blog content, and we continue to do so, we still have, on a weekly basis, as we monitor and assess our efficiencies for our own brand through this case study, is that we see in the top 10 of our most frequented pages on our website pretty much the same blog post each week in and out. We always have, obviously, the blogs that we publish that week are always in the top, but we also have these recurring blogs that are top performers for us. And it's interesting to look back at when we published those and what the direction of that blog was, and what the word count was, what the research aspect was, and all that good stuff, how we used imagery and all that, and to see that we have blogs that were published in the first 2 months of our journey, of our content marketing journey, that is performing in the top 10 on a recurring basis for us. And then we also have blogs that we published last year that are constantly in the top 5. And then we also have blogs that are more recent that are performing. So these blogs all have a common theme, which they are case studies. They are more in-depth articles about a facet of marketing, whether it's digital marketing, whether it's talking about retail marketing, whether it's talking about a specific campaign for a certain brand and how that was efficient. But that's kind of what we see from our perspective here at Britain, is that some of these more in-depth case studies are really resonating with an audience from an organic search perspective, and it's built up authority, and it's getting the proper backlinks to continually give us this great organic search traffic to funnel and help out with our page views from that perspective. So again, depending on what your strategy is for what you're trying to accomplish from a content marketing perspective, that's something that's really important to look at. And what we really try to do is on a weekly and monthly basis is look at our top performers and see why they are performing that well. And then obviously we adapt and adjust. We publish more of what works and we publish less of what doesn't work. So that's a little bit about what we do here. Now, at the essence of being successful when it comes to creating content, not just evergreen content, it lies the consistency part of it, and creating content that is structured. For us, consistency lies in everything that we do from a digital perspective. It allows us, and we really try to hone in on setting those parameters, creating processes and workflows and governance and clarity to every project that we work with, to really make sure that everyone knows their expectations, and we set the expectations high, to make sure that we can come together and really be successful as it relates to a specific project, a specific piece of content, or whatever it may be. So when it comes from a content creation standpoint, we're all about creating templates and checklists and microcopy that will help the content creators really scale whatever they're working on, but also help them create the best pieces of content for that specific channel, no matter what that channel is. If it's a blog post, if it's a tweet, if it's a email, we create microcopy and templates that allow whoever that is to really scale that content, and scale that content production as well. So, and that's really what we really try to push here the most, is that we want to make sure that we're consistent with everything that we do. So having templates set and using the right platforms and tools that allow us to really guide the content creator, no matter who it is, to create consistently good copy that is resonating both with our engaged audiences and with the humans, the search engines and bots and stuff like that. So, and then the main part of that is that we got to make sure that we measure and look at the results for everything that we do. And what really makes the measurement and the assessment part of this so much easier, or so much adds more clarity to it, is that we're consistent. Because we always have to constantly measure our content's performance. Because if it's not performing, we have to find out why. And we have to find out why it's not performing. Is it because people are not engaging with it? Are they not clicking on it? Are they bouncing off a page? Are they not opening the email? Whatever it may, the problem might be for that piece of content, we want to make sure that we use the data and metrics to guide our actionable adjustments that we make. So adapting, measuring, and assessing what action is appropriate is probably one of the most important parts here for us when it comes to content creation. Because if we assess a piece of content or a tactic or whatnot without making an action, it's just a waste. So we have to adapt. We have to act on depending on our the performance of our content that we're creating. So if some content types, or if some tactical content is not performing, then let's pivot and focus on something else. Let's focus on what's really working, and that's going to obviously help your content creation portion process as well. So, and again, we work in a lot of templates, we work in a lot of checklists and things like that, because it creates consistent processes and governance that, again, adds clarity to the process of creating these pieces of content. And it also establishes those expectations and responsibilities, and it creates a really cohesive, holistic approach to content creation when you have when you have that clarity to every project that you work on, which again, clarity adds the ability to be granular on all aspects of content creation. So, and again, the final part of it is test, 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 test what works. It might sound simple, but you have to really make sure you measure what content type works for your brand, and then do more of it, refine it, expand upon it. If you're creating content for a channel and no one is engaging with your content, maybe it's the content's fault, maybe it's the delivery, maybe it's the channel. By testing, you can automatically kind of get closer to that funnel of finding out why it's not performing well. From a tool, resources, and platform standpoint, this is where, again, we always say that there's no mega tool out there that can help you with all the things that you need to do to have a good content marketing strategy. It'd be awesome if there was. We've looked and we're still looking, but usually what will happen is that you will find different tools that work for different tactics and different channels and whatnot, and then you're going to have to tether them together and make them talk to each other, which is cool. But for us, we want to find those tools and platforms that really help us with that, with creating structured and consistent content. And for us, Gather Content has really been a platform that has enabled us to do this from a really hardcore consistency standpoint. It allows us to create these templates, complete with microcopy in them, that's highly scalable and that really lets us be efficient when we create content and consistent. And again, when we add consistent to something, it's easier for us to deduce and find out patterns and things like that where we can improve upon. So again, we use a number of different tools depending on what we're trying to achieve. Gather Content is one of them. We all use Slack to collaborate and communicate. We use a number of them. Our motto is test, demo a lot of tools and platforms, fit and find and see what works for your team, for your company, and so forth, to see if you can get better, because it's hard to onboard teams on different platforms. So make sure that the platforms that you choose and the tools that you use are going to be tied to an onboarding process, so that everyone learns really how to use them, and do recurring training sessions and so forth. So in recap, for us, creating evergreen content is all about assessing what's working and stick to that. Sounds simple, but it really is. And how you do that is by creating consistent frameworks to structure your content that way. And then it's all about adapting and measuring and all that good stuff. So our next session, which is going to be November 30th, is going to be about content syndication, which I'm not sure that's exactly what it's going to be on, but it's going to be about content distribution or syndication or maybe curation. So it'll be about content going somewhere. We just don't know where yet. So stay tuned for that. And that will be our 11th session. So that's cool. We're almost done with the whole year here. So whoop whoop. We'll run through 2016. Again, content syndication, or any kind of variation, some form of variation on that will be our next session. Q&A, we're gonna jump off of this because we have about 25 minutes into this, so I'm gonna leave any questions or comments or anything, and we'll go ahead and respond them right after the session here. So unless someone has a question for me right now. Meg? No, I've taken up this whole time here. She hasn't gotten a word in too. It's not really nice for me. But anyway, so let's see what else. I think we're about done then, right? Thank you very much. We hope to see you next session. So.